Preventing Sexual Harassment. Title IX of the Civil Rights Act. All students have a right to receive an education and to attend schools free from sexual harassment. See Board Policy JI. Title IX of the Civil Rights Act is the main federal law protecting students from sex discrimination, including sexual harassment. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. All employees and substitutes have the right to work in an environment that is free from sexual harassment. See Board Policy GBAA. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act is the main federal law protecting employees and substitute employees from sex discrimination, including sexual harassment. Liability issues. Complaints of sexual harassment can result in lawsuits being filed against the district as well as the harasser. The best way to protect students, employees, and substitutes and to avoid liability is to be aware of conduct that is considered sexual harassment and to take all indications of sexual harassment seriously, whether reported to the school or observed directly by school officials. Sexual harassment. All students, substitutes, employees, and volunteers must avoid any action or conduct which could be viewed as sexual harassment or inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature. This includes any action or conduct communicated or performed in person, in writing, or electronically through such means as a computer, tablet computer, telephone, cell phone, smartphone, or other telecommunication device, and includes text messaging, instant messaging, and social networking. Good judgment required at all times. Never forget, the district has cameras everywhere, even in places that are not common knowledge. Be sure that you are doing the right thing at all times. There should be no expectation of privacy when you are using any of the district's equipment or property, including district computers, tablet computers, cell phones, smartphones, etc. Your use of your own equipment or property, even during your personal time, could impact your employment or volunteer status with the district if it impairs your ability to be an effective employee, substitute, or volunteer. Harassment of others or inappropriate conduct could impair your ability to be effective. You must use good judgment in your communications and interactions with others, including students. Sexual harassment. The South Carolina General Assembly has passed a law which makes certain conduct towards students a criminal offense, in addition to violating board policies and the district's expectations for individual conduct. All employees, substitutes, and volunteers must maintain professional, appropriate relationships with students at all times, both inside and outside of school. Please see Board Policy GBEB Staff Conduct for further information regarding the district's expectations for conduct towards students. We are all responsible for promptly reporting any situation where we believe that third parties visiting or associated with our schools may have engaged in inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature that is directed towards our students, employees, or substitutes. Sexual harassment, including student-to-student harassment, is physical or verbal conduct of a sexual nature that is unwelcome and unwanted, depending upon the age of the student, and directed at the victim because of his or her sex. However, district employees, volunteers, and substitutes are not to engage at any time in physical or verbal conduct of a sexual nature with students. Unwelcome behavior. Whether the harasser's behavior or conduct is unwelcome or unwanted depends on the relationship between the individuals, such as two students, and the perception of the individual receiving the behavior. Again, district employees, volunteers, and substitutes are not to engage in sexual conduct with students at any time, whether or not they believe their conduct is welcome or wanted. Report offenders if you observe inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature. Sexual harassment is prohibited against members of the opposite sex as well as against members of the same sex. Physical sexual harassment. Physical sexual harassment is physical contact that is unwanted, unwelcome, offensive, and/or intimidating. In the worst cases, such as physical assault or rape, it is also a serious criminal act. Again, district employees, volunteers, and substitutes are not to engage in sexual conduct with students at any time, regardless of whether they believe their conduct is welcome or wanted. Verbal sexual harassment. Repeated words or comments of a sexual nature that offend reasonable listeners can be sexual harassment. Inappropriate comments of a sexual nature should be addressed promptly if reported by a student, employee, substitute, volunteer, or other individual, or witnessed by a teacher, administrator, other employees, substitutes, or volunteers. Examples of inappropriate conduct. Inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature by employees, substitutes, volunteers, or third parties may include, but is not limited to, the following: engaging or participating in any dates, sexual activity, or other activity with students which contains a sexual or romantic overture, leering at a student's body, or touching, grabbing, and/or pinching, making comments, gestures, or jokes of a sexual nature, manipulating clothing in a sexual manner, displaying sexual pictures or objects, spreading sexual rumors or commenting about sexual behavior, teasing and/or bullying in sexual terms, inflicting sexual assault or abuse. Any other behavior by an employee, substitute, volunteer, or third party which would reasonably cause a student or others to feel uncomfortable or would reasonably give the appearance of impropriety or unprofessional conduct, regardless of whether the behavior is overtly sexual and regardless of whether such behavior constitutes a crime. Bottom line, no student, employee, substitute, volunteer, or third party visiting or associated with our schools will create a sexually hostile, offensive, or charged environment for others by engaging in any sexual harassment or inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature, whether directed at individuals of the same or opposite sex. Administrators' responsibilities. Administrators must take immediate corrective action when allegations of sexual harassment or inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature are reported to stop the harassment and remedy any hostile environment that may have been created. Your school's policy should be distributed to students and parents each school year and posted in public areas of the school building. Every staff member and administrator should assist in making sure the policy is enforced promptly and fairly if sexual harassment or inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature is reported or observed. School policy. Your school's policy should state that respect for other individuals, including students, and appropriate behavior is expected at all times on school property and in school programs. The policy should be distributed and explained to students, parents, teachers, administrators, employees, and volunteers. Prompt response to complaints. Students, their parents, employees, substitutes, and volunteers have the right and responsibility to report sexual harassment or inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature to designated individuals if it occurs, and can be assured that their complaints will be taken seriously. Students, their parents, employees, and substitutes should understand that the complaint process applies to complaints of sexual harassment or inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature by employees of the district, other students, substitutes, volunteers, or other third parties. Complaint resolution. Once a complaint is made, schools must take immediate and appropriate steps to investigate the incident and to end the harassment or inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature. Prompt corrective action is the school's responsibility regardless of whether the victim who was subjected to the conduct files a formal complaint or otherwise notifies the school of the complaint. Reporting and response procedures. If a student alleges that he or she is the victim of sexual harassment or inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature, the school must promptly attempt to notify the student's parent or legal guardian. Investigation procedures must be communicated to the student and parents or legal guardians. Complaints of sexual harassment or inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature, including cases involving potential criminal conduct or where the child's physical or mental health or welfare has been or may be adversely affected, require that school personnel immediately report the situation to appropriate authorities, including law enforcement authorities, in accordance with state law and district policy. Please also see Board Policy JLF, Student Welfare, which provides further information on the district's requirements for reporting suspected child abuse or neglect, including sexual abuse, to law enforcement agencies. Complaints of sexual harassment or inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature should be submitted to a school's principal or other school administrator or a teacher or guidance counselor, the school or location's Title IX coordinator, or the district's Title IX coordinator. Tracy Batchelder, Human Resources Director, is the district's Title IX coordinator. She can be contacted at the following address: Richland School District 2 Human Resources Department, Benefits Portable, Windsor Elementary Campus, 9800 Dunbarton Drive, Columbia, South Carolina 29223, 803-738-3302. Teachers, guidance counselors, employees, substitutes, volunteers, or other individuals having knowledge of sexual harassment or inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature must transmit the concern to the school's principal or the school or location's Title IX coordinator and/or the district Title IX coordinator immediately. Please know that we are counting on you to let us know of any conduct or events that seem out of the ordinary. It's the Richland 2 culture for us to be vigilant in this area, and every position has important responsibilities in reporting any concerns. Lead from where you are. Under no circumstances will an individual be required to first report allegations of harassment or inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature to the principal or designated contact person if that person is the individual who is accused of the harassment or inappropriate conduct. In such cases, the individual should file a complaint with the district's Title IX coordinator. All principals and/or contact persons will initiate an investigation into any complaint or concern in consultation with the district's Title IX coordinator promptly, but at least within 2 school days. Interim measures designed to protect the student, employee, or other designated individual from further harassment or inappropriate conduct must be taken immediately. Confidentiality. A request that a student's name not be disclosed to the harasser may limit the school's ability to respond to the complaint. Inform students and/or parents that Title IX prohibits retaliation. Reporting and response procedures. All principals and/or contact persons will complete their investigations within 15 school days of receiving a complaint, unless additional time is necessary to conduct an impartial, thorough investigation as determined by the district's Title IX coordinator. Board policy requires some specific written feedback that must be given to an individual who has complained or has been subjected to sexual harassment or inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature. You will need to contact the district's Title IX coordinator to ensure that this feedback is provided as required. Administrators and/or supervisors will follow up periodically on any incident of sexual harassment or inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature they were involved in investigating to determine whether the complainant has been subjected to any further sexual harassment or inappropriate sexual contact since the corrective action was taken. If an individual has concerns regarding the handling of a complaint, he or she may file a grievance in accordance with Board Policy JII, Student Concerns, Complaints, and Grievances, or Board Policy GBK, Complaints and Grievances, within 10 school days of receiving written feedback regarding the complaint. Resolving complaints. If a student is determined to have sexually harassed another student, the administration will take whatever disciplinary action is warranted, up to and including a recommendation for expulsion from school. If an employee or substitute is determined to have sexually harassed or to have engaged in inappropriate sexual conduct that is directed towards a student or other individual, the administration will take whatever disciplinary action is warranted, up to and including separation from employment or the district's active substitute roster. If a student is found to have directed inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature toward an employee, substitute, or volunteer, the student will be subject to disciplinary action. If a volunteer or a third party is determined to have sexually harassed an individual or engaged in inappropriate sexual conduct, they will be dealt with appropriately. Additional obligations. All employees, substitutes, students, and volunteers must promptly report to the principal or appropriate contact person any conduct on the part of third parties, including sales representatives, service vendors, or visitors to the school, which is believed to constitute sexual harassment or other inappropriate conduct. No employee, substitute, student, or volunteer in this district will take any action to discourage any individual from reporting alleged sexual harassment or inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature. However, any person who intentionally provides false information in connection with a report or investigation of sexual harassment or inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature may be subject to disciplinary or other appropriate action. Retaliation. No employees, students, substitutes, volunteers, or third parties associated with our district will retaliate in any way against an individual who has provided information as a witness to or a victim of an incident of sexual harassment or inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature. Confidentiality. Due to the sensitive nature of investigations into complaints of sexual harassment or inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature, appropriate confidentiality must be maintained. Board policies JI, JLF, and GBAA are available online at www.richland2.org. There are forms and instructions available online if an individual needs to file a complaint of sexual harassment or other inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature. Forms may be completed and submitted to a school or location's principal or another administrator, the school or location's Title IX coordinator, or the district's Title IX coordinator. Board policies. If you are unable to access our board policies, including those related to the sexual harassment of students, JI, or employees, GBAA, or student welfare, JLF, at www.richland2.org, please contact Tracy Batchelder, the district's Title IX coordinator, at 738-3302. Arrests. Please know that if you are arrested for any reason, you must notify your supervisor immediately. All arrests must also be brought to the attention of the Human Resources Department immediately. Failure to do so will result in appropriate disciplinary action. Thank you for your attention to this important information. Please direct any questions that you have to a school administrator or Tracy Batchelder, the district's Title IX coordinator. Promoting workplace safety in Richland School District 2. What every employee should know about safety in our district. Richland School District 2 Safety Committee. The mission of the Richland School District 2 Safety Committee is to promote quality work and educational experiences by identifying and reducing hazards and liability exposures for our students and staff. In an effort towards accomplishing its mission, the Richland School District 2 Safety Committee carefully reviews the work-related injuries of our employees. How are our employees